Good evening, viewers. My name is Limba Mupetami. Welcome to another edition of the Sportwrap show. We've been gone for a while due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but now we're trying to come back with local and international sporting events coming back slowly and surely. In studio today, I'm joined by my co-host, Jesse Jackson Kauraisa, who would briefly give you an overview of the articles which he did in today's Namibian Sun, which obviously covered weekend events. To you, Jesse.
Yes, good evening, viewers. Well, Limba, it has been a roller coaster ride for many of the sporting personnel and everyone. Obviously, we do know that the coronavirus pandemic has affected everyone. It has not left any stone unturned. But well, life continues, and we do have something very important. The Namibia Football Association met this weekend. That's the executive committee, where they decided that the current acting NFA Secretary General, Franco Cosmos, will continue in this position until the 31st of December. And then from there, they will make new appointments. As well, they decided on positions in terms of coaching. The Brave Warriors coaches will remain as they are. That's the likes of Bobby Samaria and Woody Jacobs. They will obviously be in those positions until the 31st of March 2021. That's the end of the financial year. It's quite a good initiative from the Namibia Football Association there. Well, we also do understand that we are moving away from bush football. The Namibia Sports Commission has decided that bush administration should no longer take place. This is when they have actually renovated offices at the Katutura Youth Complex, where priority sport codes will be able to operate from. I think that's a quite interesting initiative from the Namibia Sports Commission, spending close to 100,000. I also have the NFA president, Master Ranga Haikali, who was elected in February this year, in the studio today with us, and this is what Mr. Haikali has to say about his tenure. Good evening, Mr. Haikali. Welcome to the show.
Very good evening, and thank you for inviting me.
Yes, I'm sure it's quite an honor to have you here as well. To start off, well, third time lucky, they call it so, being elected as the NFA president. Obviously, after two failed attempts, but finally you got the position. You are in a position, finding a house which was quite, one would say, not in a mess, but there was a lot happening there. So, Mr. President, how would you describe your tenure now, just this few months that you've been in the position as the president? What you found there, how it has been for you?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the congratulations. I think the congratulations does not only go to me as a president, but it also goes to the whole EXCO as a team that was elected. My third time luck. The other EXCOs also first time attempt in terms of the constitution that they are serving on the EXCO. And we are both serving a term from the 22nd of February for a 4-year period. Yeah, not only troubles but challenges. We see them as challenges. Most of the problems in football are well known to all of us in the EXCO. And for us, it will be a challenge and an honor to make sure that during our tenure of office, we will be able to address the challenges that football is facing. We had several seasons whereby the first division and the second division was not active or playing. It's a challenge, but we do have a plan as a collective leadership to make sure that things are put in the proper process and there will be stability in football. All those shortcomings and challenges that have been highlighted, not only by the auditors or by the auditing of the books, some action plans are going to be put in place to address those shortcomings and make sure that football is run is run transparently, and accountability and governance issues will be our main priority.
Okay, Mr. Haikali, speaking on the first division and second divisions are not playing well, we do all know that this was the biggest bone of contention between the Namibia Premier League and the Namibia Football Association, whereby the normalization committee, which took over the NFA, ordered obviously for the Premier League not to relegate anyone from last season, while the Premier League obviously maintained that they will relegate someone because their season actually concluded. But now, as we stand, we do know that the NPL is suspended by the Congress of the NFA, and obviously they have gone to CAS, and CAS has set a date for, or has actually given a go-ahead for that suspension to be contested. And we've always heard about the non-compliance and the compliance here. So, Mr. Haikali, taking over as the president, do you feel that you have been handling this matter in a way that it should, basically in terms of taking things far with the Premier League? Couldn't there have been any solutions, I mean, to avoid all these court cases and stuff?
Yeah, thank you very much for the intensive question. I'll try and answer them in the following manner. On the 30th of May, Saturday, 2 days ago, we had our first executive committee meeting, which looked at that particular bone of contention that you have referred to. So it will do justice maybe if I take you through the discussions and the decisions that have been taken, which will specifically address the issue of the NPL and the Namibia Football Association impasse, covering most or all of those questions that you have asked. I'm saying this in the sense that our tenure of office started on the 22nd of February 2020, and we found most of these challenges already on the table. One, when we met on Saturday, we acknowledged that the issue of the vacancy in the office of the Secretary General was a challenge that we needed to give directives. And in terms of that, we resolved to appoint the Secretary General in an acting capacity from the 31st of December. From the 22nd of February to the 31st of December. In terms of the NFA Constitution, the President, being myself, have to make recommendations to the Executive Committee in terms of this appointment. Now, having reviewed that and our policy of transparency, inclusivity, and accountability, we took cognizance of the cases that have been running. We took an overview over the case that was at the Supreme Court, or firstly the case at the High Court and then the appeal at the Supreme Court, as well as the CAS cases that you have referred to. And it was in that sense that we have decided that Mr. Franco Cosmos, who was a member of the Normalization Committee, should continue steering this in terms of coordination in an acting capacity as Secretary General until the 31st of December 2020.
Let me just stop you there, Mr. Haikali, before you continue. Mr. Cosmos, there has been quite mixed reactions or emotions to his selection as the acting Secretary General of the association, with one being that he was a member of the Normalization Committee, and well, I'm not sure whether he was eligible to sit or to act in any capacity of positions in the NFA. I think that's one thing we have to clarify before we continue with the rest of the matters?
Thank you very much. Once again, I want to remind everybody that the president has to make a recommendation. I didn't just go and make a recommendation of a candidate, whether that being Franco Cosmos or any other candidate, to be permanently appointed for our tenure or for the period of our tenure of office. We thought, before we just appoint anybody other than Mr. Cosmos, let us review what was the directive given by FIFA. One directive was none of the NC members are eligible for any elected, and I'm emphasizing elected positions in the Congress of 22nd February. Mr. Cosmos was not in any elected position. The acting Secretary General or the ex-Secretary General position is not an elected position, but it's an appointment. Having cleared that, we could have appointed, or I could have recommended to the EXCO anybody else other than Mr. Cosmos, but then that somebody, with due respect, will have to find time to get through the ropes, to get acquainted with the systems. We have got pending cases, we have got a lot of matters that happen, specifically in the issue of the court cases and many other administrative matters. And we thought, for stability, we will appoint Mr. Franco Cosmos because he is eligible, unlike the interpretation of many of the people who are saying he should not be considered. The consideration was only a restriction towards elected position, which was not the case. And for any organization to have stability, you don't just appoint people for the sake of appointment. You have to keep the boat stable, and to do that. And it was in that fashion that we thought, let us appoint Mr. Franco Cosmos in an acting capacity. Now what will happen is, despite the Constitution giving the prerogative to the President to appoint, any other candidate will have to be given an opportunity to also apply. And I'm very honest with you, within our team, there are already candidates who have indicated that they want to apply for that position. How do we give those people in a transparent way to have the opportunity to also apply for that position? So unlike what the Constitution is prescribing, we will have an independent party, a consultant who will oversee the process of the applications, which will not be steered by Mr. Cosmos, who is acting in this capacity.
Okay, Mr. President. So basically what you're trying to confirm here is that what we have heard, that obviously basically the fact that Mr. Cosmos was part of the normalization committee and now he's the Secretary General, acting Secretary General, many people, the feeling was that even before he was appointed as acting, his influence, or the influence of the normalization committee towards your campaign as president, obviously now, and the fact that now he's appointed, you know, people were trying to put 1 and 2 together there, thinking, well, this could have been unfairly done and stuff like that. So what you're saying is that none of that happened and there was no foul play.
There was no foul play. There are certain challenges that are currently in court. The High Court have expressed itself in terms of jurisdiction over hearing that matter. The Supreme Court confirmed what the High Court have decided. Now it is upon CAS, and there are 3 cases at CAS. One, that is the challenge of Mr. Franz Bidi, the former president, in terms of him not going through the vetting process. Then Mr. Patrick Kauta and Mr. Mpasi Hengura were also challenging, and one of their prayers was to stay the Congress and not for the Congress to go ahead. CAS have decided then and there on those 2 prayers by the 2 applicants or 2 parties that applied, that the Congress will have to go ahead. That is one. Now the testing of the 3rd case at CAS is the issue of the suspension of the NPL. It has got nothing to do with the Congress or the eligibility of any parties. The process of Mr. Franz Bidi will continue as per the current process where we are in. Secondly, Mr. Franco Cosmos is not controlling the process of CAS, and I can assure you we are confident as the Namibia Football Association that the process that CAS will take through to test and hear all the prayers and the challenges by the parties that apply to CAS will be very credible and transparent, and there will be integrity. If by any chance the case of the NPL is completely separate. The NPL is just with regard to their suspension. The other two cases is regard to the vetting process. Unfortunately, Mr. Kauta have withdrawn from that particular case, and only his wisdom will tell us why he saw that or he deems it fit to withdraw that particular case. So that leaves Mr. Mpasi to continue with his case. But what I also want to do that, and I'm not doing this on behalf of CAS, is that there was an error from the parties that applied where they missed the payment due date.
Yes.
Mr. Patrick Kauta made his payment. It was late, and they asked for condonation of the late payment. Mr. Mpasi Hengura requested for a postponement to the 23rd for his payment, which has also not been affected or paid. Now, it is upon the president of the tribunal from CAS to decide whether he is going to throw away that case. Now, what happened lately, there was a letter from the representative of Mr. Patrick Kauta to CAS to basically transfer that money that he paid to the NPL case. That is a completely separate request. Now, even we have to make clear that these are advance costs that have to be paid to CAS. It's not the final cost. Some lawyers and the tribunal or at CAS have spent time to read all the documentation, and that time and the thought spent into assessing this cost money. So I cannot expect CAS to say that money will just be transferred to another case while time and money had to be spent on those cases. How much of the 10,000 Swiss francs that was paid by Mr. Patrick Kauta, or how much work have been spent in doing that work? Our lawyers have also spent time to review all the documentation. So it's not only a withdrawal of a case, it's already...
So in simple, you are contemplating ways of cost for that case.
For that case.
All right. So basically, I think that's quite clear. Just to get back, I don't want to move off track a bit. Okay, fine. We spoke about the NPL and the NFA case that's also with CAS. Don't worry, Mr. Haikali, I'll bring you back to the decisions of the meeting. But I just wanted to clarify this one, and it's what every single Namibian obviously always wants to hear about, and it's the fact that what could have been done to avoid this football saga, the league and the NFA going to courts and stuff like that. I think what could have been done to avoid this, Mr. Haikali?
Okay. To be open and frank is for the NPL to have followed the directive that was given. One. Secondly, we know that money was already allocated by FIFA since 2017 for the first division and the second division to commence. The previous leadership have used that money for other purposes other than commencing the first and the second division, and that is the bone of contention. There was a meeting in Marintal of all the members of NPL, of NFA, whereby the NPL have resolved to put in money for the leagues to start.
For the first division.
For the first and second division.
Yes.
That commitment was never honored. And I'm saying this with all due respect. It was not a commitment to be honored in terms of any law or any policy by the NPL.
So
it's money that was allocated by FIFA, and the executive committee of the previous regime did not use
it for
that.
yes.
So one cannot squarely blame the NPL.
And that's one thing I wanted to also, because obviously the NFA and the Normalization Committee has actually been pressing the issue about compliance and stuff like that. And that's one thing where I think the biggest confusion, or the fact the NPL, I think, refuses to take a blame that it's not entirely to blame for. So I think about the first division not starting because of funds that were actually available and used for something else. So basically that's where the thing is, I think the biggest problem with the NPL is. But as I think it has been going on, and so that's why I was like, what could be solutions here?
All right. Further than that, when the NPL made that commitment to make the funds available, they were reminded by their sponsors or by their sponsor MTC that you have made that commitment that within a certain time frame you will make the money available. You have now decided to start the league. How are you going to address the issue of the promotion relegation if the first division and the second division have not started? That fell on a deaf ear. So partly, you cannot make commitments to make the money available, whereas the administration of the first division was in the ambits of the NPL. I'm saying we cannot blame the NPL 100% for making that particular commitment. Neither can we just say the previous EXCO should be blamed for not allocating the money that they have been given for the start of the league. Hence, the directive from FIFA.
So what can be the solution, Mr. Haikali?
It's compliance, and the only directive that can be is for us to start the league on a clean slate where all the leagues, the Namibia Premier League, the first division and the second division, will start simultaneously, and hence the decision by Saturday's meeting of the EXCO to make that money available for the leagues to commence. And that is with no promotion, no relegation, and we have again resolved that the leagues should start simultaneously, and for the next 5 years or for the next 5 seasons, every year the EXCO, our EXCO have resolved that the money will be made available for the leagues to start simultaneously in the country.
So as we currently speak, are there any funds available to start the first and second division?
Yes.
As we currently speak?
Yes.
So meaning that, but obviously in the event that the court case, the CAS case does not swing into your favor, what would happen now? Is it going to be another appeal, or what's going to happen? Let's just say, I'm not saying it's going to be like that because I'm sure you're positive, but just thinking, just to avoid things going forward in terms of that, what's going to happen?
I don't know how the CAS case will not be able to swing in our favor. We have got a directive here, no promotion, no relegation, and for a clean slate to be started, on which the NPL is contesting. So far, we are positive that despite the challenge of the eligibility of my presidency and the EXCO in terms of the Congress, and the support we got from the members of the majority members of the Namibia Premier League, I cannot see how this situation could be reversed.
In your favor.
But for the sake of unity, for the sake of working together and building a better and stable future, I have always been saying, can the NPL not consider to follow the directives, and football will start on a normal clean slate?
Okay, I think we pressed for time, but there was one thing as well that we actually been reading, through WhatsApp, social media. It goes through all that, and it's about the 8 clubs that obviously want to pull away, or have decided to pull away from the Premier League, and they are also against the decisions that the NPL has taken in terms of not wanting to comply. And then you hear here, obviously they are also planning to, or have sent a letter to CAS contesting, or being against why that money Kauta was using for his case against the NFA presidency is now being transferred to the Premier League. So all of that, and well, from what we're hearing as well, is that the NFA is somewhat having influence towards these clubs. Will you rebuff that rumor in any way?
All right. Let me first state that many of these things could have been cleared by allowing me to take you through the agendas,
yes,
decisions of
yes,
the
it's
EXCO.
just
But what I'm saying is, I am aware of the 8 clubs' letters and communications, the latest communication to us. First of all, money was paid, 10,000 Swiss francs, from a different party's account to CAS for the case or for the cost of Mr. Kauta, a different party. It was paid, and it was paid late. There was a request for condonation. Then last week, we received a letter from the
clubs.
No, from the lawyers representing Mr. Kauta, Chitemisa and Associates, saying that this money should be transferred to the NPL case. The very same day, another letter came from Vieder Kauta and Associates, which is the law firm that is representing the NPL, saying that money should be transferred back to the law firm. Now, it's a third correspondence that comes in terms of that money. And then, as you rightly said, the 8 clubs also wrote a letter asking, where was that decision made? And CAS have requested a letter of consent from the NPL that they will accept that that money be transferred to their case. Now, in terms of the NPL constitution, there must be a BOG authorizing that. And the 8 clubs are saying there was no such BOG. And there is no mandate by the NPL EXCO, neither the chairman of the NPL, to transfer any money or pay any money as a loan to CAS for their case. So the 8 clubs have got a point. The constitution of the NPL.
So it has nothing to do with the NFA pushing these clubs to actually take that road. It has nothing to do with the NFA.
It has nothing to do. We have been copied in these letters that have been coming. Obviously, we have passed on these letters and consent as a consent party to our lawyers representing us to try and clear the matter, either to oppose and ask the clarity, because you have got 5 parties that are all stating different facts regarding that money. And we know what are the laws in terms of transfer of international funds, money laundering, the source of funding, for what purposes, and our forex regulations.
Okay, thank you.
That we want to.
Thank you, Mr. Haikali, for that. Basically, now I would just maybe just 2 minutes. You just take us through those resolutions of the meeting. I'm sure we have touched most of them right now through the discussions.
Yes.
But you can just take us through maybe 2 minutes of your time, and then we conclude.
I will try by all means. We have already dealt with the vacancy of the Secretary General, the appointment of Mr. Franco Cosmos as acting until 31st December. An independent panel will be appointed to go through the application process. We have also discussed the issue of the financial manager in terms of the recommendations from the auditors and the management letter that was sent to advertise the position of the financial manager, the position of the technical director. We have also decided to keep the coaches and the technical staff for the Brave Warriors, the Brave Gladiators, the current contracts that are in place to be put in place until the end of our financial year, being end of March 2021, and expecting CAF and FIFA to give us directives in terms of the resumption of football for the CHAN Championship, as well as the AFCON qualifiers and the World Cup qualifiers. So those technical teams will remain in place until end of the financial year, which is March 2021. We have also put in place an emergency committee in terms of the constitution, myself as president, the first vice president, and Mr. Ernest Joy, who's EXCO member were appointed to be the members of the emergency committees to take decisions on behalf of the EXCO in between meetings going forward. Then we obviously reviewed the NPL situation as well as the COVID-19 relief funds, and we have resolved to move those matters to the extraordinary Congress, for which a notice for that Congress will be given or issued tomorrow, the 2nd of June, for a 45 days notice in terms of the Constitution, effective then up to the 16th of July, and the next available weekend for us to have a extraordinary Congress will be the 18th of July, for us to have the Congress subject to the state of emergency and the regulations in terms of congregation, because we know the Congress constitutes of more than 50 people.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Haikali. It has been a pleasure having you here today. Obviously, we would love to hear more from you in the coming days in terms of new developments and stuff like that. I'm sure, obviously, we would still continue to wishing you the best of luck in terms of bringing the association to the level where you desire, or where every Namibian would desire it to be. Thank you so much for having me in the studio.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. One very important thing is a decision that was made to start the registration of clubs and the players from the 1st of July in terms of the e-connect or the registration and club licensing of FIFA guidelines. That will also commence on the 1st of July.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Haikali.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Jesse. That is all we had for this evening. Please do come back and join us in studio on Thursday as we bring you a preview of what will happen in the weekend. Thank you so much and goodbye.